heart of Paris, October the 9th, 2001. Officers from the French Economic Police Unit set out to conduct a raid. Their target, the headquarters of France's biggest arms manufacturer, Thales. Armed with a search warrant, they were acting on behalf of the South African police. Once inside Thales, they confiscated masses of documents, including evidence that Thales had paid bribes to a Mr. X, a prominent South African politician. Mr. X was none other than Jacob Zuma, leader of the African National Congress. Here on the outskirts of Cape Town, 20,000 of South Africa's poor have come to see and celebrate Zuma. If there's one thing that can be said about Jacob Zuma, he knows how to move. At 66 years of age, he can strut the political and populist stage like few others.
I have the love for the people. I dedicated my life to liberate them and myself. I dedicated my life to fight for freedom so that we are free.
Jacob Zuma might have helped win the battle against apartheid, but for the past 4 years he's been fighting for his own political survival. When Foreign Correspondent first profiled Jacob Zuma back in 2006, he was mired in a criminal trial, accused of rape. His supporters claimed it was a conspiracy to destroy his political career.
We know all these things are happening as a conspiracy so that Zuma can never be the president.
Zuma agreed.
Absolutely, I do. I do because of the manner in which they've been handled, they've been conducted, they have a reason. I certainly do.
Conspiracy or not, the courts acquitted Zuma of rape and cleared his name. Jacob Zuma's jubilation didn't last long. No sooner had he been cleared of rape, he was charged with accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes from the French defence giant Thales. To understand the strength of the evidence against Zuma, drive south from Cape Town to the postcard setting of Simonstown, one of the country's main naval ports.
Are we on our way to the hangar?
Rear Admiral Robert Higgs is the head of Indian Ocean operations. His fleet is small, but very modern.
I'll be working above now.
Central to his fleet's fighting capacity is part of the combat system provided by Thales. How has the French system integrated into what you need? How is it working?
I think it's working very well. We have gone through a lot of operational test and evaluation. We've used it when we've exercised with other navies. We used it when we were exercising with NATO. We've used it continuously in everything which we've been doing. It is the heart of the ship.
That the French got the contract stunned many in the defence industry. They were never the first choice, but Jacob Zuma saw to it that the business went their way.
Andrew, this is our documentation centre. In this room there's about 1 million scanned pages of documents, all backed up onto DVD, etc.
If it wasn't for Dr. Richard Young, the payments to Jacob Zuma may never have publicly surfaced. Young's company was expected to win the South African Defence Navy contract until Jacob Zuma stepped in.
Jacob Zuma, that's just the beginning of things. It'll probably grow again.
The million-plus pages of documents are all to do with a successful lawsuit Richard Young brought against the South African government. Jacob Zuma at the time was South Africa's deputy president.
How much did he personally benefit from the Tuller's bribe?
Well, the bribe was recorded as 500,000 rand per year until African Defence Systems starts paying dividends. That was calculated to be a million rand.
Despite Richard Young winning his lawsuit and being paid compensation by the South African government, Tuller's kept the military contract.
So this French company actually has control over the architecture and the future upgrade and maintenance of the South African Navy's combat system.
So the bribe was worth paying?
Indeed it was. It was cheap at the price.
The reason why Richard Young lost out to the French can be found more than 1,000 kilometres away in KwaZulu-Natal. This is Zuma country. The kids have every reason to be happy. Jacob Zuma built them a brand new school. Jacob Zuma also built this, a palatial Zulu compound to house his 4 wives and 18 children. We called in to see if the president most likely was home.
Wonder if Mr. Zuma is home.
We were out of luck. The boss was out on the campaign trail.
Will you vote for him?
What's not so amusing is where the money came from to pay for the rural retreat. Court documents show it came from Tuller's.
He owed the builder, as I understand it, at least R1 million at that time. Can I get you some tea?
Yes, please, yes.
Andrew Feinstein knows where all the skeletons lie when it comes to Jacob Zuma and the arms deal. As a former ANC Member of Parliament, Andrew Feinstein headed an investigation into the arms deal. Now in London, he's published a book on the corruption he witnessed and Zuma's money problems.
I think at that particular time that this investigation was unfolding, he had a dire need, because this builder was threatening to go public with the fact that Jacob Zuma was unable to pay him the R1 million that he owed him. But in addition to that, he had the need to keep this very large family in a manner to which the family of the deputy president of the country and the ruling party should be kept.
When the scandal broke, it cost Jacob Zuma the deputy presidency of the country. Since then, it's been an ongoing battle of Zuma versus the state.
6 years of investigation and apparently 38 court appearances so far.
The case against Zuma is that he didn't act alone. His longtime financial advisor, Shabir Sheikh, was the middleman. Sheikh has been very generous to Zuma over the years.
At the end of the day, they're talking about Shabir Sheikh providing more than R4 million.
How are you doing, Mr. Sheikh?
I'm doing fine, like the weather. Cool.
It's how the two men have been treated so differently that caused the ongoing furore in South Africa. Shabir Sheikh got a mammoth 15-year sentence for bribing Jacob Zuma. Zuma, charged with corruption, racketeering, money laundering and fraud in 2007, has managed to fend off the courts ever since.
The arms deal is really the basis for all the decay and all the corruption that we see today in our country. That's really where it all started.
Patricia de Lille is one of the few politicians in South Africa prepared to stand up to the Zuma machine. Her Independent Democrat Party is growing by the day. Target number 1, Jacob Zuma.
Die storie gaan nie ophou nie. Die storie gaan aan. Die storie gaan nie ophou nie. Die storie gaan aan. Zuma, Jacob Mahalupa Senior. Zuma, Jacob Mahalupa Senior.
For 6 years, Patricia de Lille has battled away at Zuma, demanding he be brought before the courts.
Right now, the way leaders are behaving is if they are above the law, that if you are a political leader, you must be treated different from the criminal. It's sending out the wrong message.
Four weeks ago, the first signs that both political leaders and common criminals may not be held accountable appeared. They centred on Shabir Sheikh, the man jailed for 15 years for bribing Jacob Zuma. Shabir Sheikh isn't in a jail. He's been holed up in this hospital for months, reportedly suffering from stress-related problems, and reportedly under tight security.
We need to find out about the patient. Yes.
We got past the first security in a matter of seconds. Surely when we asked for Shabir Sheikh, the alarm bells would ring.
We come to see Shabir Sheikh.
In B2 West, the B block is this one right here.
No alarm bells here. The precise directions took us straight to Shabir Sheikh's ward.
Andrew Fowler from ATC Television Australia is here.
The only resistance we encountered came from Sheikh himself. Shabir Sheikh wasn't taking visitors.
Did you ask him if you'll speak to us?
He said he's not supposed to you.
Oh, okay.
Just why the security was so lax became apparent 2 days after our visit. Shabir Sheikh, friend of Jacob Zuma, was paroled on medical grounds and sent home.
All the best.
Many wondered if Zuma was about to get off the hook too. Zuma's supporters were once again in the streets. The corruption charges had been dropped. The National Prosecuting Authority announced there had been an abuse of process in the handling of the case, which could be seen as political interference.
In the light of the above, I have come to the difficult conclusion that it is neither possible nor desirable for the NPA to continue with the prosecution of Mr. Zuma.
At no time in his 45-minute announcement did the acting head of the NPA suggest the evidence against Jacob Zuma was flawed. And Jacob Zuma will almost certainly be elected the country's next president. For many, the fact that Jacob Zuma never stood trial to have his guilt or innocence proven will cast a shadow over the country.
The rule of law, the basic foundation of our democracy, of the equality of all before the law, will have been destroyed. And in a country that suffers from one of the highest rates of violent crime in the world, South Africa can ill afford for its most senior leader to be, post the April 22nd election, to be the one most flagrantly undermining that rule of law.
All power! All